Should I change my tax advisor when I emigrate, or is it better to keep my old tax advisor? A very, very important question. You'll find out my opinion on this in this video. Hello and welcome. My name is Florian Wilk from CMC in Larnaca and Paphos, Cyprus. For almost 15 years, we've been helping people emigrate to Cyprus, set up companies, and handle everything from A to Z. Ongoing bookkeeping, immigration, non-dom status, company formation, the whole package. And time and again, I talk to entrepreneurs who are emigrating and facing a very, very important question, namely, should I completely change my tax advisor now and rely solely on my Cypriot advisor? Should I choose a combination of my current advisor and my Cypriot advisor? How should I proceed? What is the best thing you can do? And here is my very, very clear statement on this. If you are satisfied with your current advisor, if you have good communication and everything has worked well over the past years, and the collaboration is going smoothly, then I would definitely not switch. And right now, I am especially talking about the topics of emigration, exit tax, disentanglement, functional relocation. These are all typical topics that come up in this context. But I would always work together with your current advisor because they know your business and you best, and I always believe never change a running system. In other words, never change a system that works well. But if your advisor says, I don't have the capacity, or if it's simply not my area of expertise or something I've done a lot of, then of course it always makes sense to bring in specialist advisors. And what I recommend in many scenarios, sometimes you don't even need it, but in many cases it makes sense to bring in targeted expertise. For example, we currently have a fairly extensive and robust network of various trusted partner firms operating in Germany, Austria, the United Arab Emirates, and several other strategic international locations. And then, for specific legal questions or particular topics, you can bring in the respective local advisor as needed. I also find that very, very sensible, and it's always good to get a second opinion and above all to get the local perspective in each case. What we also often do, especially in more complex cases, is that we engage in sparring. That means, for example, if someone emigrates from Germany and has a somewhat more complex structure, we generally coordinate with the advisor in Germany as well. This way you can ensure good sparring and proper coordination. That's the crucial point. And of course, it's also nice when you can communicate in your native language and simply avoid misunderstandings. Because Cyprus, of course, has a different official language and a different legal system. Cyprus is based on common law, on British law, and all the associated legal terms. The procedures, the legal forms, and so on are naturally different. Many things are comparable or similar, but of course the devil is always in the details. And that's why it's important to know what you're talking about, so to speak, and not talk past each other. So, to put it briefly, my basic recommendation is always to continue working with your existing advisor. Ideally, there should be a sparring between the advisor in Cyprus and the German or Austrian or Spanish or whichever advisor you have, depending on where you come from or where you currently live. Establish this sparring so that smooth communication is ensured and every perspective is taken into account. Because that's a very, very common phenomenon that I observe here in Cyprus. The Cypriot advisors often do a very, very good job, of course, when it comes to local Cypriot matters. But when it comes to an outside perspective, for example, the German perspective, they naturally reach their limits very quickly, that's clear. And that's precisely why it is so incredibly important to be exceptionally well positioned, taking into careful consideration both the German and the Cypriot perspectives in order to achieve a comprehensive understanding. And that you simply avoid the typical mistakes because they can become expensive. I don't even want to list everything else that could come up, but of course there are definitely scenarios where you have to pay fines because you may have founded the companies too early and forgot to notify the tax office, or maybe you haven't dealt sufficiently with the topic of exit taxation or relocation tax. These are all things you absolutely have to deal with when emigrating in order to work there. To avoid mistakes and prevent future problems with the tax authorities, yes, feel free to give me your feedback. What's your take on this? Is it best to change advisors when emigrating, start everything new, or should you stick with your old advisor? Feel free to tell me more about your opinion. That's exactly what the comment section is for. And I want to sincerely thank you for your attention. Also, feel free to leave me a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for regular updates and videos on the topics of emigrating, Cyprus, starting a business, and taxes. And if you're interested in emigrating to Cyprus or another country, or if you need a company structure in Cyprus, feel free to book a free appointment for an initial consultation. You'll find the link below the video in the description, completely free and without obligation. Then we can discuss your personal setup and your individual emigration. So thank you very much and see you again very, very soon. Yours, Florian, Wilk.